Guys, my name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the care and propagation of the Alocasia Frydek. They don't really look real, like they don't look like they're really from the nature because they have this synthetic look to it, and I don't know, there's something really fascinating about this plant. It's got very neon-like green that is velvety, and a stripe down the middle that looks like a Dieffenbachia stripe. Very, very interesting plant. It looks really beautiful from behind as well. And a lot of people actually struggle with this plant, and I find that this is actually not the easiest Alocasia to grow. I actually had this die back a few times and I kept bringing it back. But when you do that, you actually learn so much about the plant. So I really appreciate it teaching me so much lessons. Really quickly about the care, I give this a little bit of direct sunlight. They do like to be in very, very bright light. This is a jewel Alocasia, which means that it's an Alocasia that don't really get big. There are a lot of Alocasias in this category, and I find that they all really like to be in part shade, which means it's like partly direct sunlight. It's just shaded by other plants. It does get maybe a few dappled direct. I really haven't had many of these Alocasias burn for me, which is weird because they're actually understory plant. They live, way down the forest floor, and you don't really get that much light in the forest floor, but somehow they actually do thrive in bright light. So give your Alocasias more light than you think they need. In terms of watering, I water this lightly every day. Let me take this out of, it's very, very root bound actually. But I give it very, very airy potting mix, my forest floor potting mix, and I just water it very frequently. I never let it dry out completely. I realized that especially in this bright condition, they actually are very thirsty plants, and I just watered this today and it's bone dry now already in the evening. It's actually sundown now. So this is a pretty thirsty plant, and then it doesn't want to be in compacted or soggy potting mix or soil. So a lot of you guys are growing them in like clay, silt, and heavy potting mix. They're not gonna like that. So a lot of people also have success growing them in like those self-watering kind of situations, or like pond. And I can imagine them liking that self-watering kind of situation where it's like there's air movement in the potting mix and it's never just compacted or wet. So they like that. So yeah, I would suggest to water them carefully because that is the trick of keeping them alive. Fertilize this probably a little bit more than my regular houseplants, only because Alocasias, I find that they're actually quite robust growers. They're rhizomatous, so they put out rhizomes down below, which we'll study later as we propagate this plant. And they do put out a lot of offsets and pups. So if you start seeing these offsets, it is time to maybe increase the fertilizing just a little bit. And in terms of pests, this is very, very pest prone. All Alocasias are pest prone, but this Frydek is extremely pest prone. So whenever I'm doing my pest control day, I always make sure that I give this one a good spray down. And basically the pest that affects them the most is the spider mites. So they will cause the plant to decline a lot. And in my hand here, actually, this is a perfect specimen. It's got no bite marks whatsoever. I'm really sad to be propagating this guy, but I think it's time because there are actually 3 plants living in here. And then for each of these plants, I'm even going to cut them back further. So I'm going to be doing quite a radical propagation today. I'm going to chop it up like crazy. All right, so let me take it out and show you the close-up. Look at how root bound this is. And Alocasia actually grow upwards. So this is actually different nodes that it had, where old leaves used to fall off. And you see this line here. And that right there is the growing eye. That is where the new bud is coming from. If I cut it right now, if I release it of its apical dominance, which is the top growth, new buds will emerge from here. So if you want a pot full of Alocasias, you can keep them clumped up like this, or you can propagate them and have them grow in massive clumps. This is actually quite beautiful like this. All right, so let me carefully divide this. I must say that this plant was probably a rescue. It was probably from one of the parent plants that didn't make it. It was just a baby, I think 9 months ago, is that right? Yeah, this is all 9 months-ish worth of growth. I haven't really documented these, but I'm trying to separate these without severely stressing out the roots. All right, so I managed to break apart the plants, and I see mosquitoes flying around. This is why I hate filming in the afternoon. In the evening. Mosquitoes start coming out and I gotta hurry. So they actually put out these little pups here. And usually if you don't do anything about it, they'll just stay in the potting mix because they're buried too deep or they're facing the wrong way. But if you take this out, you liberate it, and you kind of, let me show you real quick. You kind of just pot this up in a potting mix. It will turn into its own plant. So check your alocasias often. They often put out these, I don't know what you call this. They're not stolons, they're not pups. They're just babies. And you don't want to bury them too deep. But yeah, and for this one, I'm gonna separate more of these. There's quite a few of them. I see 1, 2, maybe only 2. This is pretty stingy actually. But actually I find that when you keep them very root bound, they will put out more of those babies, these guys here. So they actually grow upwards like that, and the older they are, the longer, what do you call this, main stem they have here. Although if you keep them for too long, sometimes the lower ends can rot and mush, turn to mush. And another tip for alocasia is that when you're buying them, it's a good idea to buy them maybe without the leaves. The leaves are actually not so important. Alocasias live their lives here in their rhizomes. So I'm gonna cut it like, let's see, like, how much do I want? How greedy am I today? This may have been better with a knife, just so you know. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it like this. It's actually got only very little roots. So what I'm gonna do is, because it's got many leaves, I'm gonna take one of the leaf off. Now this is painful to watch, but it is necessary. Let me explain. When you have so tiny amount of roots and you have many leaves, the plant is not going to sustain all the leaves. That leaf was gonna die anyways, and it's going to expend a lot of energy on the way out. So by taking it out, the plant can focus on putting out more roots and more new shoots, more new leaves. Some people may even go as far as say take off another leaf, but I'm going to keep it here, but I know that the leaf is going to start to yellow one by one, and at the end there's only going to be one leaf left. And by the way, with alocasias, one of these clumps can only have maybe 3 to 5 leaves, because they will always shed a leaf and a new leaf will come up. That's how they grow. So if you want a big bushy pot of alocasias, you're gonna need many of these. Just one just won't do. But when I plant it like in its own pot like this, it's gonna start giving more leaves. It's got the growing eye that we saw earlier may activate at some point, and it may also put up pups. So it's gonna give me its own full pot at some point. So with this one that we just cut earlier, I'm just gonna stick it like in the potting mix here, in the pot right here, and just add my forest floor potting mix to it. I may actually add some fungicide only because I've had experience with them rotting off or being attacked by fungus. So I may do that. Let me show you how I do that in a second. Yeah, I just want to keep it airy, by the way. I don't want to jam everything. I don't want to, compact anything in there. So this is just fungicide. Any brand will do. So just sprinkle a little on the top, and that's it. This is done. I have a bad habit of not labeling anything, but I'm gonna have a hard time finding these later. And for this one, actually, what I want to do is actually, I can rub a little bit of activated charcoal on it. This is just to prevent infection because it's such a big wound, right? So I'm gonna do that here, and I'm just gonna plant this. Hopefully new roots will develop very shortly. And with these, they're actually getting excellent light. But now that it's lost, it's been stressed out, it's been hurt and wounded, I'm going to keep it a little bit away. So it's going to be in probably indirect light for a few months from now. And this right here is actually 2 clumps, so I can easily separate them. And down here, this young plant doesn't have those nodes anymore. Although I can see that if I cut this can probably give me a few plants. Do I want to do it? I'm gonna do it. I'm shaking here. It's not easy, guys, to film while mosquitoes are biting my back right now. Okay. Whew. Okay, this is actually a decent cutting here. There are a few nodes in there, I can tell. Yeah, I'm getting bitten left and right, so I must hurry. This here as well, even though it's a young plant, I'm gonna be greedy. I'm gonna cut it up. I'm gonna leave a little bit of roots for the top. Yeah, I've got this tiny amount of roots to support these 2 leaves. For this one here, I'm actually going to take this one leaf off because there's many leaves here, and the lowest one is already yellowing anyways. Alright, look at that growing eye there. Seems interesting. So each of these are actually nodes. Look at these lines here. They have the potential of giving you one new plant. I'm going to cut it right there. Yeah. So yeah, this is one of my cutting, what it looks like. And then with this here, I may turn it into 2. Oh my god, I'm getting eaten up by mosquitoes. How did it get into my shirt? Yeah, I'm gonna plant this way up. And I'm gonna try apply actually this time all of them with a little bit of the activated charcoal. Okay, so we're done. Here we have 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I just watered this so it's like flopping over. 4. So we've got 4 of those, I would say, quote unquote parent plant. And then we've got 5 here that are just the stumps. But some of them actually stuck 2 stumps in a pot just because. So let's see what sprouts out of these in a few months. Welcome to a 4 months update. Something really weird happened. I have more pots than I started out with. I remember having 9 in the final propagation, but I counted 11 pots here. So I am not sure what happened here. I may have separated some of these and repotted it because it's been such a hectic few months. I don't remember all my actions. So I remember bringing, oh my god, kids. Anyways, I remember bringing 3 accidentally to the studio thinking they were ready for sale because I didn't remember that I was actually filming this episode on the Frydeks. So yeah, I brought 3 there and I took them home since because I know I wanted to shoot this update. But it's weird, we have so many pots now. So I may have separated some of the pups and put them in individual pots like this. So that's probably what happened. Oh my gosh, okay. This is what happens when you have like 3,000 pots of plants and everything's moving. We're selling some of them, we're getting new ones in. So things are just a little bit more out of control, but this is the biggest one here. It's not as bushy as before, unfortunately, but I think I kind of neglected this in a way. The sun isn't really strong in this part of the year, so this is getting less optimal light, and I did lose a lot of leaves like this ones that yellowed up and are flopping over. This as well, this was growing under some of the shelves, so they're getting suboptimal lighting. They're not getting enough light, to be honest, and they do get rained on every day because it's the rainy season. And when I quickly looked at the back of each leaves, because they're very spider mites prone, I noticed that there are not really any spider mites. And if you look at the leaves, how clean they are, you can tell that there's no spider mite bite marks here. Sometimes you can actually tell quite a bit. And one more thing that I found out about them through propagation is that their new leaves come out shiny. The baby leaves, I mean. The babies are shiny. They're not velvety like these more mature leaves. Let me show you some more examples. Look at these ones. They're actually kind of glossy. I'm really surprised. But this propagation actually turned out well. They're actually quite easy to propagate. They're quite fast to propagate, which explains why they're so inexpensive. But I think I did not pay enough care for them, that they are a little bit neglected on their own. I should have actually maybe fertilized this about a month ago, gave them better light, backed away with watering because they are just living under torrential rain every day in the rainy season. But I think in the next few months, when we are getting more light here, we're getting less rain, I think these will do better on their own. So I'm going to start fertilizing them. I'm going to apply some pesticides on them because I know that, you know, they will probably be prone to spider mites anytime now. And yeah, I guess hope for the best. Some of them are going to be up for retail, but not anytime soon. I think this will take 2 to 3 more months before they can be of retail size. Thank you so much for watching. I'm at Botanist on Instagram. If you want to DM me on any questions regarding plant care and propagations, I'll try my best to get back to you. Meanwhile, do take care and stay safe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.